There's been a lot of talk surrounding Spider-Man because a lot of people think it's way too soon to be relaunching the franchise. Okay, so let's be grown up about this. Let's make a list of pros and cons when it comes to The Amazing Spider-Man. Con: it's the end of an era, no more Sam Raimi. And let's face it, this guy is a genius at what he does. He brought us Army of Darkness and at least 2 good Spider-Man movies. Pro: Marc Webb, the ironically named director of Amazing Spider-Man, also directed 500 Days of Summer, which was the best film of 2009. Con: last time we saw Gwen Stacy on film, it was a platinum blonde Bryce Dallas Howard. I might be paraphrasing, but everything's hotter in Dallas. Pro: last time we saw Gwen Stacy, we also saw a disco dancing emo Peter Parker. Con: having seen Reese Ifans in a string of comedic roles, I have a tough time accepting him as a supervillain. Pro: it's not freaking Topher Grace as Venom. Con: The Amazing Spider-Man is... Pro: it's not Spider-Man 3. Con: it's... Seriously, did you see Spider-Man 3? Yeah, but it's Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 3. Okay, so maybe it's not too soon to relaunch the franchise. This is Real School.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
Now that the comic book film era has been around for so long, it's really interesting because it creates debate between fans when different actors get to play the same roles. Keaton or Bale? McKellen or Fassbender? Maguire or Garfield? Let's start with that because I think that Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker was spot on. With Tobey Maguire, it seems like he only had 2 settings. He was either happy-go-lucky Peter Parker or teary-eyed teen. But let this high school teacher remind you of one thing, if you've forgotten. Teenagers are annoying little roller coasters of emotion. I never really bought Tobey Maguire as a teenager. He was a great Spider-Man, but not necessarily a great Peter Parker. Garfield's Peter Parker had amazing range and some genuine moments where he acted exactly like a teenager would.
You want to, I don't know.
Want what?
I don't know, or we could do something else, or we could, if you don't, we could...
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, either one.
In fact, that was the strongest aspect of The Amazing Spider-Man. All the characters were really well fleshed out. You know I've talked about one-dimensional characters before. For instance, characters that are evil just for the sake of being evil. They really don't seem believable. In The Amazing Spider-Man, every character has layers. Uncle Ben, for instance, is not just this perfect father figure, but he's fallible. He gets pissed off at Peter once in a while, which makes it that much more believable. Even Flash Thompson is not just a douchebag teen who's a bully for the sake of being a bully. He actually has more to him, instead of being some 40-year-old from Magic Mike. I think that had a lot to do with the fact that Amazing Spider-Man was not trying to be the 3 previous films that came out before. When Raimi zigged, Marc Webb zagged, which did bring its share of issues. One of the biggest issues was that I just wasn't blown away by any of the action scenes. It was a real sense of been there, done that. And if you're going to reinvent a film and reimagine a franchise, then you really have to bring something new to it. And while others have said that the darker tone of Amazing Spider-Man is clearly an attempt to emulate Nolan's Batman films, I didn't necessarily agree with that, but I really didn't feel that the tone of the film fit. Some of the best parts were when Spider-Man got to be a real smartass, when he was crackin' wise, which is something you always want to see in the character of Spider-Man. But with the darker tone of the film, it felt like it didn't have enough light-hearted nature, so it really felt like it wasn't actually a Spider-Man movie. One of the worst parts of the film had to be the musical score. James Horner, who was the composer for this film, has also been composer for breathtaking films like Braveheart. He's a much better musician than this score would lead you to believe.
Time remaining, 1 minute.
What the hell was that? Did the lizard step on a piano? And why do they even have one in a laboratory? There were a lot of misses when it came to this film, but one hit was Stan Lee's obligatory cameo. That 10 seconds in the movie was one of the funniest parts, his funniest cameo yet, and this episode's for the win. I thought about Amazing Spider-Man long and hard. Was it an earn it? Was it a burn it? For the first time ever, it's an earn it. Barely. I definitely didn't feel that it was the strongest Spider-Man film we've seen, but at the same time, I didn't feel ripped off that they took my money and ran. I gotta tell you, I am not impressed with most of the films that have come out this summer. It has been a summer of meh. There have been a string of films this summer that aren't necessarily good, they're just good enough. Maybe we've been spoiled with the Avengers, but I don't think I'm alone in saying, bring on the bat. I'm not going to do a poll question this time, Real Schoolers, because I think there's going to be enough debate surrounding this film. Was it better than the original franchise, or did it fall short? As always, leave your comments below. Let me know what you thought about the movie. And until next time, school's out.